Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share with you a fascinating chess trap that I recently came across with. It's based on a special move and can lead your opponent into a very devastating position. So let's not waste time and dive right into it. The trap starts with one of the most famous and popular defenses for black in the game of chess, and that's the Sicilian defense, which starts after pawns to e4 and c5. By the way, if you don't want to miss anything new on my channel, feel free to subscribe and activate the announcement bell. Thank you. So the trap which I would like to show you in this video, starting with pawns to e4 and c5, we have to continue with the open Sicilian variation, which goes after knight to f3. And here our opponent continues now with the main line, which goes after pawn to d6. This move doesn't only control the e5 square, but it also defends and supports the very important and advanced c5 pawn in the Sicilian defense, and it of course enables lots of different attacking possibilities for black in this position. So normally white continues now with the very aggressive move, striking at the center with pawn to d4. That's also the reason why we have just played knight to f3 before, because this knight not only controls the whole center here being developed on f3, but it also supports our pawn here on d4. But of course in this trap we also have to surprise our opponent a bit, and therefore we play the very crazy move pawn to c3. So normally this move would block the black's king's bishop to move on b4, but in this position that's just not working because of the c5 and d6 and also e7 pawn by black, which is just completely blocking this line. Therefore, by the way, black often plays pawn to g6 in the Sicilian defense to get a fianchetto here to get the bishop out. But in this position it could also support us to strike at the center again with pawn to d4, just with the support of another chess piece, our pawn on c3. But that's still not the idea. The idea of this move is to open up the very important diagonal in this trap for our queen, connecting it with the a4 square. So our opponent now, black, just continues with what the computer says is the best move in this position, just the development of its knight on f6, also attacking our pawn on e4. Because in this position we sacrifice now our pawn here on e4. That's very crazy, and we do this by not defending it, but rather by playing the crazy and unbelievable move bishop to e2, just fully sacrificing our pawn here on e4. And how you can already think, it would be a big mistake for our opponent, so for black's knight here on f6 to accept the gift and just capture our pawn here on e4. Because if he does this, then thanks to our developed pawn here on c3 and the open diagonal, we can play the very strong move queen to a4. Do you see it? It's not only check, but it's also a fork. So our opponent has to block the check now. Let's say, for example, by putting the bishop here on d7 between the queen and the king, and now we can just capture our opponent's knight here on e4 without any problems, also targeting the very important b7 pawn here and just completely dominating now, because now after already 5 or 6 moves inside the game, we are now up 2 points of material and have a big advantage against our opponent. So now I'll shortly show you how to play the Sicilian defense correctly with black without getting into a losing position already in the first moves of the game. There's either the open Sicilian, so on move 2 we play knight to f3, which we also had to play in the trap which I've just shown you, or there is the closed Sicilian, just knight to c3. The idea of this variation, so let's at first take a look at this variation, is to often attack on the king side of the chessboard very slowly, building up the pieces, bringing them here and attack on the king side of the chessboard. So black just answers with a similar move, knight to c6, and now we have lots of different continuation variations. We could now play the key move of a main move of the open Sicilian, knight to f3 again. We could play pawn to f4, but definitely the most famous and most popular move is to play pawn to g3, preparing a fianchetto on the king side of the chessboard. And here now this game continues with lots of similar moves back to back by white and black. So black plays pawn to g6 2, bishop to G2, bishop to G7, pawn to D3, pawn to D6. In the closed Sicilian, this is like a main matchup which can happen on the chessboard. But the open Sicilian with knight to F3, which I've just shown you in the trap, is definitely way more famous in the chess world. This move enables us to push in the center and strike in the center with pawn to D4 in the following move, against which black can't do anything anymore, and therefore the main line goes after pawn to D6. This move activates the queen's bishop by opening up the diagonal here, and yes, now we continue with pawn to D4, just completely striking at the center. So both chess armies trade their pawns here, on which the white knight from F3 lands now on D4. So black actually probably could now attack the knight by playing pawn to E5, but it's definitely more famous to continue normally with knight to F6 attacking our pawn here on E4. We defend it with knight to C3 and so on and so on. So the Sicilian defense is definitely a too complicated opening to just put it in one little and short video where I've also just shown you a little trap before. Therefore, if you are interested into lots of other famous and interesting and very crazy continuation variations of the Sicilian defense, check out the video link in the video description after you have finished this video. So my favorite line in this position, instead of playing the very aggressive pawn push and strike with pawn to D4, is to play bishop to B5 with check. So this move is actually even considered an anti-Sicilian move because, well, it instantly enables us to do short castling and the following moves, and it is also a bit similar to the very famous Ruy Lopez opening, also called the Spanish game. So black has now obviously three different options how to block the check now. Either bishop, knight to C6, knight to D7, or of course bishop to D7. And this was an order with this video in which I have just shown you how to the basics of the Sicilian defense, the open variation and also the closed variation, and this little and sneaky chess trap in the beginning. I hope that you liked the video. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, bye!